We greet you today in the name of our Lord and our Savior, Jesus the Christ. Saints, I want to take this opportunity to just have a brief conversation with those of you who are viewing me by television as well as by YouTube as well as by Facebook. We have certainly experienced many things in our lives, but one of the things that I often concern myself with is making sure that we always acknowledge truth and try to bring down anything that is not true. On last night, or shall I say last Sunday, the Congo Hour had decided that they needed to speak to the community regarding the actions and activities of Zion Fair and its pastor, Dr. Christopher Curry, regarding us deciding unanimously to boycott their establishments and any establishments that are connected to the Petrocon Construction Company. Many of you know that we were in the midst of building a 28,000 square foot whole life center so that we can help and aid in the eradication of the violence in our city. That center was designed to make sure that we would be a safe haven and have a place where our young people could go, grow, and flow into the people that God has called them to be. Many have shared with me, Pastor, you really should have gotten another contractor, but because of my relationship and our relationship as a church with Mr. Congo, who is 51% owner of Petrocon Construction Company, we thought it was best to keep our dollars within our own community and we would employ that construction company. Now, on their show yesterday, they spent some time talking about everything but the real essence of why we decided to boycott. It is true that Mr. Congo did give us $3,000 when we were on 1230 French Street, but we in turn gave him a $1.5 million contract to build and assist with our church. So when you look at it, I don't think that he's done any more than any of us have done to make sure that we advance the kingdom. I heard a whole lot of things dealing with personal attacks and how much they love Zion Fair, and we're not going to dispute that because I really don't want to get the truth to be smothered in what I call the weeds. If Mr. Congo and Trippy feels that they have been good to Zion Fair, thank you. We appreciate what you have done. But, you know, giving a donation several years ago and us returning, giving you a $1.5 million contract to build our facility, it certainly weighs the difference. And I hope that we would understand that. But again, I don't want to spend this short time that I have with you all worrying about that personal attack that they have certainly launched against myself and the church that I pastor. What I decided to do is to just be very specific. What Mr. Congo failed to share was the real issue. The real issue is $242,000. Mr. Trippy said that, you know, the pastor is telling people that the funeral home owes us money. I never said that the funeral home owes us anything. As a matter of fact, so that we can be very clear, the funeral home, that's Congo Funeral Home, they don't owe Zion Fair one dime. But the construction company by the name of Petrocon that is owned 51% by Mr. Congo does owe us $242,000. That's just $8,000 shy of $250,000. We are a church that have been in this community, whether on French Street or here in Southbridge. We originated in Southbridge, but then we moved to 1230 French, and now we're back in Southbridge, and we've been in existence for 97 years. This church have been consistent. We've paid our bills. We've done the things that we needed to do. We've tried to impact the community, and for someone to assume that our whole goal is to try to lambaste or hurt another black establishment, That is far from the truth. Here is our issues. I shared with this church the simple math. We didn't want to get confused with the lawyer language. We didn't want to get confused with the architect language. What we did was we went out and we looked at every check that we gave to Petrocon Construction Company, which totaled $808,000. That's $808,000. Then we went and we decided that we would look and see all of the people who Petrocon Company paid. And based on all the checks that was written from Petrocon to our subcontractors, it totaled $565,198. So again, that's $565,198 they paid out of our $808,000, which leaving us $242,000. The math is simple. We just need to know where it is. But the devastation is, once there were several meetings to talk about this and where is the money and the path forward, we saw that we were getting nowhere. So we decided that we would fire that construction company and hire another one. And as we were in the middle of moving on and getting another construction company so that we can continue to serve the community that we promised this facility to, another devastation hit us. Petrocon decided they would try to smash us by putting a $694,000 lien on our property. Everybody who knows, if you have a lien on your property, the bank will not fund you. So their way of smashing us was to put a $694,000 lien on us. You would have to come and see. Our project is laying dormant. Our project we're devastated because we have in our spirit to do well. But then Mr. Congo feels that, hey, you should not be upset with us. But the purpose of a boycott is to say we're not going to do business with any of the entities that the owners of Petrocon is dealing with. That's our boycott. And just as we have seen in the 60s and the 70s, when African Americans come together and they decide that we're going to boycott, it hit and it hurts economically. Let's take away the personalities. Let's not go around trying to say Pastor Curry is such a deplorable and horrible person. Let's deal with the facts. If we're going to speak to the community, let's deal with the facts. It's not about a personal agenda. This is business. Our church have been in existence for 97 years. And yes, it is no secret. We want to do well for this community. But when we are taken advantage of for $242,000, we can't sit dormant with that. African Americans everywhere. I am not a proponent of black on black crime. But at some point, the Apostle Paul reminds us that a man must defend himself. Mr. Trippy said, Pastor Curry was not professional because of some stuff that he heard from other people. I'm not into the gossip. If you want to label me as not being professional because I'm telling people we are not going to allow, based on a vote from this church, there were 3 calls to that vote. The first call was to boycott all entities that are related to Petrocon, and unanimously in 2 different sessions the church voted to not. Then the second part of that was, are there any objections? No one said a thing. And the last one was, are there any abstentions? And no one said anything. So even the 1 or 2 people who may be going back and forth and saying, hey, Mr. C, I'm not with this, at the end of the day, they had a chance to say what they wanted to say. But the way I see it and have been hearing, and the support I'm getting from this church and even some from the community, is that I have done the right thing. Ezion Fair has done the right thing. Mr. Congo said on his show, as I watched, he said, I would like to go and defend myself before Ezion Fair. After having a conversation with the chairman of our deacons and several of our supporters and members of this church, I want to extend that invitation to you. When you are ready, Mr. Congo, to sit and share, where is the $242,000? And why would you put a $694,000 lien on our property? Is ready to be satisfied and answered? We are open. We will talk to you, because for years we've had a very good relationship. And listen, the reason why you got that contract is because of your relationship with this church and its pastor. But poor pastor am I if I permit this church to lose $242,000 because we need to maintain a friendship. There comes a time, as Paul said again, when a man must defend himself. I am not angry. I am very much determined. Mr. Congo said on his show, he said, I have purchased a lawyer. Ezion Fair has too. And I want to thank all of you who have donated to our legal fund so that we can keep this cause moving. I am not going to be angry. We will not be talking about Pastor Curry's behavior. What we will talk about is the issue. Where is the $242,000? Why wasn't it kept in trust like the state of Delaware requires that all monies are kept in trust, and the contractor, who is the general contractor, is the last to be paid? We got liens because subcontractors were not paid. So I just want to leave that with you. And I thank Mr. Congo and Mr. Trippy, who knows nothing about this situation, but I understand the whole loyalty to Daddy, and I'm supporting all of that. But what I want to make sure we say to this community, whether it's by Facebook, whether it's by YouTube, whether it's by live streaming, or even on Channel 28, I want to say thank you for bringing this to the public's attention, because I kept it private between just those in this congregation, as well as those who desired they wanted to have a funeral here. But since it's public, I'm fine with it, because I'm going to stick to the facts while you try to personally attack a man who have served this community, who have preached the gospel, and who have been a giant when it comes down to helping people who are in need. We all can be greater if we decide not to hide behind our lawyers, if we decide not to hide behind some persons who are doing us wrong. This is unfair, but I'm willing to do what I must do in order to support the cause for righteousness and for justice. Let me say this before I close this segment down. It is true that Ezion Fair and Mr. Congo had a wonderful relationship. But that relationship went sour when we decided that we would not allow $242,000 of our dollars just to go a waste. We must answer to that. And when that question is satisfied, I would love to rekindle the relationship that we once had. But I will not let lies and deceit reign in any aspect of my life. I thank you for your time, and may the Lord God bless you real good.